All right. Hey, Rifters, welcome to the show. Subscribe, rate, review. KeithReza.com for shows and all that stuff. And we got a great guest. I'm very excited. You've seen him in Hercules. You've seen him in What If. You've seen him in Cole. You've seen him in Soul Surfer, Reagan. Kevin Sorbo is going to be here via Zoom, and it's going to be fantastic. Um, Ashley Green is a huge Kevin Sorbo fan, so she's going to be listening to this one. So I want you Rifters to be on your best behavior. Enjoy Reza Rifts with Kevin Sorbo coming up next.
From Hollywood, California, welcome to Reza Rifts with your host, Keith Reza.
Man, how you doing?
Hey, Kevin, how are you, pal?
Just recovering. Had a full right knee replacement, so it's a little painful. It's only less than 2 weeks ago, and I've been doing a lot of rehab on it. So,
What was it, an alligator bite or what happened?
call it 40 years of being an athlete and running on concrete roads and asphalt roads and doing all my stunts on Hercules and football and basketball through high school and college. I think that probably had more to do with it.
But no, you're in Florida. When I found out you're in Florida, because like I do stand-up comedy, so I've gone to Florida a couple of times, and
Sure.
the alligators, like I'm always scared of the alligators, you
I
know?
live on a lake. I've been here 7 years. I've seen 3 alligators. I don't worry about them.
Oh, nice. Well, do
I
they know
worry, I
you?
worry more about the traffic and taxes and politics of California that we escaped 7 years ago. So,
Yeah, that's true. But
where do you
no,
live?
man. I live in Huntington Beach, which is California.
I know. My last 10 years I was in Westlake Village, Thousand Oaks. Loved it. I miss my home. I miss that area, but you can keep the rest of the state. They've wrecked a
Yeah,
beautiful state as far as I'm concerned. And it kind of shows. I mean, you've have had so many hundreds of thousands of people left and businesses, hundreds of businesses have left. And
yeah.
there's a reason for that. But anyway, let's rock this thing, dude. I'm sorry. I got another doctor appointment later this afternoon for something else. So
Oh, no worries. All right, cool. So, we might go back and forth a little, but let's start off with What If because it's the 15-year anniversary a couple months ago, and
yeah,
that movie was fantastic. My friend Christy Swanson's in it, so
yeah.
I wanted to know like because that movie the tone was very very sweet and stuff, and I thought it
Mhm.
was really good. I want to know what was it like when that script came into your lap and like
Well, Dallas Jenkins directed it, and Dallas is a good buddy of mine. He's doing The Chosen right now, which is a massive hit. And he sent me the script just to read it because we have kids like same age group. My wife and his wife get along great, and so I read the script and I said, "Hey, who's playing the part of Pastor Ben?" And he said, "Well, I got this guy." This guy said, "Dude, no, I'm playing the role." He says, "I can't afford you, man. This is such a low budget movie." And I said, "Pay me what you need to pay me." I said, "I got to play this role." Well, I got to tell you, it's that movie in my book, I've shot over. I'm closing in about 100 movies I've shot, and
yeah,
there's a dozen that suck, but I did them anyway. But that movie's in my top three. I think it's better than God's Not Dead. It's the same writers that did God's Not Dead, but I think What If is far better. I mean, God's Not Dead, a $2 million budget goes on to make 140 million bucks.
right,
This movie should have been a huge hit, but the trouble with independent movies is when you shoot movies around 2 million, that budget was like I think they shot that for like 500 grand or something. Um, you don't have money to promote these things. You don't. Hollywood does these $300 million movies. That's going to change because all these studios are losing their butt now in these horrible movies they're doing. And I think with the advent now of AI and all that, I mean, even Hollywood came out and said we got to stop making these $200 to $300 million movies. We got to start getting below 100 million because AI is going to save them all a lot of money. But
right.
to me, it's hard when you have an independent movie. How do you promote? You can't afford to put a commercial or the trailer on on a basketball game or a soap opera or a sitcom to promote it. You got to hope on word of mouth. And God's
Right.
Not Dead just got huge word of mouth. But I've known Christy a long time, and we've shot a couple movies since together, and we keep in touch. She moved. She's up in Jersey now. Her and her husband living up there. So, but
Yeah.
I love working with her, and I love doing that movie. I still think it's just such a well-written script.
Do you also think that like What If could have been like because back 15 years ago social media was just a thing and it was like not everyone was really on it, but now everyone's on it. Do you think like if social media was had more power back then, it would have helped it.
Yeah, I think that would certainly help. There's no question. It definitely would help. What it would have done, I don't know. You still have to get somebody, you got to promote it. I mean, I know in God's Not Dead, I went on the road and I must have done, I don't know, 200 interviews over 2 weeks, whether it was radio or television or whatever. I mean, they just put me out there and we just promoted and promoted and promoted it. But it was really the word of mouth. It had a great opening weekend and people loved it. And they're the ones that said, hey, go watch this, go watch, and that just sort of fueled the fire now. And but that's rare. That's not an easy thing to do in that small indie world. But the indie movies, people aren't going to stop making them because people love doing it. Both sides of the camera, people want to work, and there's a lot
Yeah.
more work in the independent world than there is in mainstream Hollywood. I mean, a buddy just went to pitch something at. He's been in business a long time. He went to pitch something with Sony, the Sony lot in Culver City.
Uh-huh.
Said it was like a ghost town. He said it's just some they've had to lay off so many people because these movies, there's no big budget movie that's done really well this year. And this is their worst year, I think they said since 1984 or something like that in the box office.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You were talking about how you do a lot of interviews and stuff, and I wanted to know, like, who do you prefer to be interviewed by, like random folks or fans or like other celebrities, because there's different interview types.
Yeah, I don't know if there's, I mean, it depends on what people tell me. They say, hey, stay away from this person or do this person for whatever reasons they have. And it depends on my schedule more than anything else. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
still busy. I'm always, Sorbo Studios, please go to sorbostudios.com. We got a lot of things coming in the pipeline. I've got 5 movies done in the can right now.
Oh,
And I got to
nice.
find a way to get them out there. I got 3 documentaries done in the can. One actually is out now. It's streaming on Amazon and it's called Against the World. And it's about proving God in a world of science. It's pretty interesting. I spent 3 weeks with John Lennox, who was the star of this thing. He was an Oxford math professor, retired now, but he's an apologist. He's debated all the great atheists of the world, like Dawkins and Hitchens and Singer, and names a lot of people know in that world. And we spent 3 weeks in Oxford, 2 weeks in Israel. And this guy is amazing. And I call it apologetics for dummies like me, how to defend your faith, I guess. But he's just brilliant. He sounds like Winnie the Pooh, and he kills these guys in their debates. But they're getting angry and their blood vessels are sticking out. There is no God, and they're going crazy. And he just kills them with love and kindness and humor. He sounds like Winnie the Pooh when he talks.
Yeah.
Too. So he's just a cool guy. So Against the World, check it out. It's streaming on Amazon.
Now, is that like because that just shows you your crazy work ethic? Is that something like you plan to do, or are you the type of guy like once you finish a project, you just have to go back and do another project, or
I
like,
like to work. I don't like
yeah.
sitting around. I don't like sitting around. In fact, I've got a movie that I've got to finish up on. I've already shot a little bit on it, but I've got 4 days and a couple of weeks up in West Virginia on a Christmas movie. It's a comedy. It's pretty funny,
Yeah.
and so I got to finish up on that. And then I've got 3 movies lined up next year already. One for the Hercules fans out there. I'm doing a swashbuckling pirate movie. We're shooting on an island off the coast of Thailand. I'll be there for 2 months next spring.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Is it hard directing yourself when you direct your own movies?
You know what? When I direct, I'm not directing that one. I wish I was, but I'm not directing that one. We got a Polish director doing that one. But I try to direct at least one a year.
Yeah.
I started directing back on Hercules. I remember walking to Sam. Sam Raimi was our exec producer. People know Sam from Evil Dead, and he directed the first 2 Spider-Mans and stuff like that. Um, he was our exec producer on Hercules. I remember walking in the beginning of season 3 in his office at Universal Studios, and I was like ready to fight. And I said, Sam, I really want to direct a couple episodes this year and keep on directing. He goes, okay. I went, okay, thank you. I walked out. I
So
wasn't,
so
wasn't
that's how
gonna
you
stay
got
long.
the directing
Well, yeah,
experience.
but that's where I started. But here's the thing. We're 3 seasons in. I know my crew backwards, upside down, everything. It's a family. You're working 14-hour days, 12, 14-hour days on sets. These are your family members, and um, they're awesome. I mean, my entire crew wanted to work on Lord of the Rings after we wrapped. They all wanted to win Oscars, and
Oh, nice.
oh yeah, I mean, Peter Jackson used to come on the set to see how the crew's developing because we shot from '93 through the end of '99, so I was there for almost 7 full years. Um, and and he was writing the Lord of the Rings trilogy at that time. He started directing in like 2000, I think it was. And so he would see how the crew's developing because New Zealand was very small. They didn't have really any kind of infrastructure. Australia was already beating them in that world. In fact, they're doing the first Matrix, I think, during that time when we were in season 3 or 4. But it was, he just came to check things out, and he loved what was going on. He took all these guys, and they went on to all the guys that created all my creatures on Hercules won, like, I don't know, 5 Oscars, every Lord of the Rings or something. So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool to be part of that. But I know my crew, and I knew that I could trust them. I learned a lot on the set. I was always asked. I'm on the set every day. I'm pretty much every scene, so I'm always asking behind the scenes. I'm saying, okay, why this lens? Why that? Why this angle at this point? Why? I mean, it was. I remember Kevin Costner did that when he was in his 20s. And I remember taking that as what you're already on the set. You're
Yeah.
already working as an actor. Why not find out what the costume department does, what the makeup does, what the camera guys are doing, what the lighting guys. I mean, it was a great, I mean, I'm getting paid to work and learn how to do other things than just act.
But does it confuse you when you're doing that as an actor? Because like you're putting so much work
Sure.
on the direction, and then like when you're directing yourself, they're like, oh my gosh, like you know what I mean?
Well, I pretty much trust the people around me, and I pretty much trust. I'll have the first AD say action and cut in the scene that I'm in.
Okay.
And I'll say, when the dialogue finishes, just let it beat out another 10 seconds. You never know what might happen. After that, just say cut. But to me, it's like I want to focus on the scene that I'm acting in. And then, if we have time, then I'll run back and take a look at it on the playback. But I'm a big fan of Clint Eastwood's. When I work, I direct fast. Clint Eastwood
Yeah.
shoots like 8 to 10 hour days. I'm like 10 hours on average. A lot of people think you got to work 14, 16 hours a day. You do not. Just move
Yeah.
on. Everybody knows their job. So just show up, know your lines, hit your mark. Everybody else knows their job on the other side of the camera. So to me, it's like boom, boom, boom. And look at, Clint Eastwood makes Oscar-winning movies and he shoots 8 hour days. So there, it can be done. Just people get it in their head. No, we got to suffer through this and take 20 takes. No, you don't. If I get in one or two takes, I move on.
Yeah. Well, the one question I had for Hercules, because I know you filmed in New Zealand and you
Yeah.
had the show, but you also had Hercules movies. I wanted to ask you, did you film that at the exact same time, and did you ever
No,
get
no.
confused? Oh, you didn't?
The
Okay.
move originally it was going to be 5 2-hour movies. That was it. Just
Yeah.
5 2-hour movies, 10 weeks each movie. So it was going to be full year down there, 50 weeks out of the 52-week year. Um, Anthony Quinn played Zeus. That was awesome for me. For all those people that don't know Anthony Quinn, shame on you. You don't know your movies. He's one of the golden actors from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s and stuff. And he's done over, I don't know, 200 movies. He was in Guns of Navarone, Zorba the Greek, Lawrence of Arabia. I mean, all these amazing movies. And so I got to know him. He was 78 years old at the time, and we remained friends the last 9 years of his life before he passed away. I would go see him in Rhode Island every time I went to New York to be on Letterman or whatever. I'd pop up there and spend a few days. And the guy was just a rock star. By the third movie, I called my agent back in LA and I said, Beverly, I think they're going to make this into a series. She said, why? I said, there's nothing like it on TV. And there wasn't at that time. I said, you got the action. We got the comedy because with Sam Raimi, you got to have goofy, crazy stuff happen. Gilligan's Island stuff happen. That's what made it
Yeah.
fun for people because otherwise, Hercules, if you take it too seriously, we had serious episodes. But you got to put the humor in. You got to put the sound effects in, just the head turning. You got to throw the guy through the bar, and it's a body cut out through the bar that you threw him out. I mean, that's what made the show fun for people. And we had a lot of great little, one-liners that people loved. And sure enough, before the third movie ended, they said, you're staying down, we're going to make it a series. And that's
Yeah.
how the series was born. It was just born because Universal said, we love it. They released the movies in theaters in Europe, but in America, it was for television.
Yeah. And then another question I had, this because you direct and stuff, but a lot of people don't really know this, that music plays a big key in shows and movies. Like it kind of flows with it. I wanted to ask your advice on that. Like how do you settle that when you pick that?
Subtle what? I'm sorry.
Like the music, like the soundtrack to the film or something, like
Well,
how,
we had a great guy. Joe DeLuca was great. He's the one that did all that stuff. They hired him. He works out of Michigan. He grew up with Sam Raimi and Rob Tappert and Bruce Campbell. They were all these Michigan guys when they were kids doing, Super 8 things, just like Spielberg was doing. So that's how that whole thing was formed. So he did all the music. I never had any say in that in the music world at all. I mean, I didn't. I was exec producer on my second series, Andromeda, so I had a little more power there, so to speak.
yeah.
But the music, I thought he did such a good job. I never had any problems with the music.
Oh, I meant on the movies you direct as well. Like because like that's
Oh yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
No, yeah, I certainly have a say then, and that just really depends on But I always make that we can all vote on that. The people that are part of the production team and all that, and We can say we're kind of looking for this, looking for that, but what you want to hire people that are very good at what they do in that world as well. And a lot of times you kind of go, wow, I didn't think of that. That sounds really cool. So we might say get rid of some stuff, but I would say 95% of the time I probably agreed with whatever sound stage the music I came up with.
Yeah. And then I wanted to ask you about Soul Surfer because
Mhm.
that was a brilliant, great movie. And I wanted to ask, like, when you got that, like, did you know like that was going to be like massive? Because like Dennis Quaid, and it's just such a beautiful story.
Well, I knew the Bethany story. I actually saw the story when she was only like a year after she lost her arm. She was on some talk show, and I listened to this story and went, "Wow!" Because this movie came out years later.
Yeah.
To finally get the script, I think they wrote the scripts for like 10 years and different writers going back and forth. But Bethany's story was incredible. That here's this 13-year-old girl saying, well, I think God wanted me to lose my arm so I could spread the message like this. And I remember Matt Lauer's interviewing and he didn't know what to do. She said God on TV. It's like apparently it's a bad thing to mention anything religious and the network television. But we can talk about evil and sex and violence all you want. That's what they love. So it's just what a crazy world we live in right now. But when I got the call for it, I originally read for the Dennis Quaid role, but Dennis obviously
Oh,
is the bigger star. But they liked me enough to make me his best friend in the movie, which is true. I played a real guy that was the dad of the other two characters in that movie. So still friends with Bethany to this day. And when every time we went to Hawaii when I was still living in LA, which was easier, obviously, we'd always go visit her in Kauai. And I think she just had a third baby as well. So great story, great movie, did very, very well. Dennis Quaid was great. I've known Dennis from before playing in his celebrity golf tournament.
yeah.
I met Helen Hunt a couple times. She has a home out there in Maui as well. And so we'd met, but we never worked together before. And I just ran into her at a Comic-Con about a year ago in Knoxville, Tennessee. So I had a chance to stop by and say hey, because I hadn't seen her in a long time. And it's funny you mentioned it because the guy who directed, Sean McNamara, I did another movie with him called Reagan that Dennis Quaid played the president. And I'm
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
only in it like 3 minutes. They cut out most of my stuff because the movie was too long. I played the pastor to the younger Reagan, but it was like 3 hours long. They had to chop and get rid of all it and get to the story. They just said people aren't going to sit through 3 hours.
I wanted to ask you about when you play real people, like
Right.
as an actor, how do you interview these people to see like what they do, or do you just take your own spin on it?
Well, if the person's alive, I want to meet him. So,
Yeah.
yeah. In fact, I just did another movie last year in Charlotte and Carolina, and I got to meet the real guy, and it's a great story because it was, you want to look at him and go, okay, I need to absorb what's going on, and I did that with with the character on Soul Surfer. I got to meet the guy that saved her life. He was the one in the water with her that got her back in the shoreline and got her to the hospital within less than minutes of her dying. She lost 61% of the blood in her body from the shark attack.
Oh my God.
So, but a great story and great to meet him and great to hear what he went through and what he had to go through months afterwards, the nightmares he had, he couldn't sleep. I mean, he figured he was going to die. In the movie, I keep my daughter in the water with me. In real life, he sent his son and his daughter to shore. Get the hell out of here. Go call 911 right now. Because they were 400 meters offshore.
Yeah.
And so he thought there'd be a feeding frenzy. With you sharks, there is all the blood in the water.
Yeah.
And he was paddling over to Bethany, and he figured he was going to die right along with her, but he's not going to leave this 13-year-old girl out there to die by herself.
Yeah.
So, the stuff he had to go through himself afterwards, and uh, you know, I think it's PTSD in a lot of different ways. Look, I just did a documentary on police officers. People don't realize the PTSD level of police officers.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Every bloody day, these guys are go up against these nut jobs that are shooting at them. Think
Yeah.
about it. People just don't. They think you got to be in war overseas somewhere. No, no, it happens right here, right at home.
I wrote a thriller about kidnapping, and I interviewed a police officer who does like kidnappings and stuff. And the
Wow.
stuff they go through, like, it's
Yeah.
just crazy. They told me that if they don't find the kid within 48 hours, there's a good chance they won't find him.
One time.
And I was like, and the fact that he admitted that was very like kind of heartbreaking in a way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So. But yeah, I have five more questions. I do want to respect your time. I know you got, but
Sure.
so like if we have to run through these, it's
Go for
fine.
it.
You were talked about Comic Con and stuff. I love Comic Cons because like I like to go because I do stand up comedy and
Sure.
and like that's how I'm kind of known. So when I sign stuff, I just like I think of funny little jokes. I wanted to ask when people ask you to sign stuff, do you have like something funny in your head that you say like don't do crack or something? You know what I mean? Something, you know?
I'll say eat your vegetables to the younger kids.
Yeah, yeah.
But usually I'll put be strong in a world that's weak. Something more a little, I don't know, because we live in a very crazy world here right now. But it's up to people. Sometimes they want a line from either Hercules or Andromeda or another movie that I've been in. Hey, could you write this line in there? A lot of people love the disappointed line. If you go to Hercules, Kevin Sorbo disappointed. It's got like 30 million hits. It's become sort of a big tagline. It came from the alter ego of Hercules, the sovereign that I played. That's from a different world. And it's a
Yeah.
line that I just ad-libbed. I ad-libbed it. And I was thinking, because the line is, we end up switching universes. He ends up in the Hercules world. I end up in the Sovereign's world as Hercules. So he looks around and goes, wait a minute, this isn't my world. And that was supposed to be the end of the line before they tag out into commercial. And all of a sudden, I thought of Kevin Kline in A Fish Called Wanda, who's like 3 or 4 times during that, he yells out, disappointed. And I just yelled disappointed out and became a thing. So it's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's so cool that like, because I feel like a lot of ad improvised lines
Sure.
that make the show like those are the ones that really stay for
Oh, we
anybody.
had lived a lot in the show. Not take away the writers. We had great writers, but
Yeah.
we're in New Zealand. They're in LA. You get on a set, and every actor would tell you this. When you block out a scene, every director would tell you this. You get on a scene, all of a sudden you're on the actual location. You walk around, and all of a sudden you do this. And you go, you know what? This makes more sense for you to say this line than me to say this line. And you switch them around, or you say, hey, what if I said this right afterwards? And and we just make stuff up. There was a scene with Michael Hurst, who played my sidekick Aeolus in the Hercules series. We're being chased by a fire creature and a water creature. And we decided to mix them up and go around a circle, make them run into each other.
Yeah.
So they just extinguish each other out. And where they had this huge vat of vapor going up. And I looked at Michael just before it went away. And I said, Michael, I want to do like this, like you're doing a steam facial. And I go, what are you doing that for? And he says, it's good for the pores. So he does it, and we kept it in. And it's just stuff that, it just happens on the day. And the audience loves that stuff. They,
Yeah.
they love that just improv. They don't know it's improv, but we know it's improv.
And then my second question is you've done a lot of movies and you kind of said like a lot of studios now are kind of making bad movies, but I would like to argue no one really wants to make a bad movie. It just kind of happens with editing or whatever.
Sure.
And I wanted to ask you, you said you've probably made a couple bad films. Is there a film that you could take back and redo or
No, they were other buddies' favors. I would just come in, maybe do a cameo, maybe do like I'm in the movie, maybe 10 minutes just to do a scene or something. Then you look
yeah.
at the movie afterwards and go, oh, wow, was that bad? I should have paid attention to the script, you know. But yeah, there's just sometimes, but I think that's with everything. Look, I was flipping channels the other day and I came upon Tom Hanks' movie, Julia Roberts. I never heard of it.
Yeah.
I saw it 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And so I watched the first half hour and it was unwatchable. And you got these two
Yeah.
major Oscar winning stars, very good actors. And wow, even they do bomb movies because that movie did nothing. I don't even
It
think
was
I
Larry
should.
Crown or something, right?
Yes, that was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yes, it was horrible. It was horrible. But I'm sure they went into it, and I'm sure the payday was good for them. But that's so funny that you mentioned you got the name. That was it.
Well, I have Asperger's, so like I'm pretty like good on stuff like that. I wanted to ask you, this is just not really about your movie and acting career, but like just like your thoughts in general, where like if you were an ice cream flavor, what ice cream flavor would you be and what would you call yourself?
Wow, I would be. Oh man, it's got to have peanut butter and butterscotch, and I guess chocolate chip cookie dough because I do like cookie dough. I'd call it Sorbalicious.
Yeah, that's a flavor. Yeah. I that could be like a Ben and Jerry's thing.
It could be.
Sorbolicious. Yeah,
There you go.
we should pitch it. All right. I have two more questions. The last question before the last question is if you could go if you could go to a time machine and talk to a younger version of yourself, knowing everything you know now, what would you tell yourself to inspire you to keep going and stuff?
Buy Bitcoin when it was $10 a coin.
Yeah.
I actually had a buddy tell me to buy Bitcoin. It was $10. I didn't know what Bitcoin was. And I'm looking at, and this was already my career. I mean, this is not that long ago. And I'm going, what? But it sounded like a Ponzi scheme to me. It was like going, and I did the math. If I put $1,000 into that, it would have been worth over $1 million today, just on $10, just on $1,000 investment. But I'll borrow something. I mean, I think I could tell people, I got raised, we didn't have a lot of money in my family. I'm the fourth of five kids. My dad was a school teacher. My mom was a stay-at-home mom and hand me down close to my brothers. But my dad taught all of us hard work
Yeah.
and told us never to give up, never to, quit. And I tell people all the time, never let anyone set your limitations, especially yourself, because
Yeah.
you're always gonna get the haters. You're always gonna get people that are banging you down, making fun of you. But a lot of these people that do that are people that are unhappy with their own lives. These are people that do not like who they are. They look in the mirror and hate what they see, and they want to drag you and me down this horrible black hole that they live in. And they think their anger is going to make themselves feel better, and what just makes them feel worse. So to me, it's
Yeah.
like, you know what? It's corny, but you really honestly can do whatever you want to do. And I got beat up in Hollywood. I'm a 13-year overnight success, but I didn't give up. And I learned, I used to caddy at this private country club. These guys had money, man. I didn't have that. I mean, they're betting each hole so much more than they're going to pay me to caddy for 18 holes. And they're
Yeah.
throwing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars every hole around. But I looked at them, I said, what made you successful? And every single one of these guys, whether they're 35 or 85 years old that have been through the gauntlet, they said, oh, I failed. And then I failed again. And by the way, I failed a lot, many years. And I learned, yeah, because that's what Hollywood is too. If you want to come in this industry, forget about it. Everybody wants to be in the industry.
Yeah.
Not an industry. Oh, I accidentally fell into acting. That's BS. I hate that when people say it in talk shows. You did it because you want either side of the camera. It's an industry that you want to be part of. You
Oh,
want to
for
be part of.
sure.
So there's so much competition, like in anything, and you're going to have a hard time. Everybody in TikTok wants to be famous. Well, most of you will not be famous. It's just the way it is. But what do you do when you have all this failure? Most of them give up. Most of them give up. Don't give up. I had so many
Yeah.
doors slammed in my face. I'm too young. I'm too old. I'm too tall. I'm too short. I'm not fat enough. I'm too skinny. Whatever it may. They look for excuses all the time not to use you. To me, I said, that's just their loss. I would get in my car and say their loss, and I'd go on to the next one. Just don't give up, and use the negative, use no and failure as a positive instead of a negative, because there's always good things that happen in those that you can take those pieces of and throw the rest away.
Oh, no, for sure. I feel the same way because, like, especially Thanksgiving, it's really a hard holiday because my family always, like, kind of makes little jabs how I'm not successful anymore. And it's like, well, because I toured with Norm Macdonald for 9 years. So, like,
Wow.
I was very successful
I
in
got to
that.
meet Norm a couple times. I did a sitcom, by the way, because the guy who wrote a sitcom, Barry Kemp, wrote my sitcom,
Oh,
and
nice.
we tested number one called Bobby Cannon. Go online, 2005, Bobby Cannon. It's me and Kate Walsh, Rocky Carroll. It's a great cast. It was like a Coach meets Cheers, and it's a great. We tested number one for ABC, and they didn't pick it up.
Oh, my God.
All the new shows, they test number one and they don't pick us up. And that show would have been an 8-year hit. That to me is still the biggest disappointment in my career. But you can get it online, check it out. It's called Bobby Cannon, and it's a very funny sitcom. But
Yeah.
but because Barry wrote his sitcom, Norm Macdonald's sitcom as well back in the day.
Oh, oh yeah. So like that's what I was kind of trying to say is like, they can make little jabs and stuff, but at the
Yeah,
end
of
of the day, they're not the ones who did stand-up comedy and did this. So like
course.
in their eyes, I'm a failure now, but back then I wasn't. You know what I
You're
mean?
not a
It's
failure.
yeah, so it's kind of like that
You're not a
where
failure. You just keep plugging, man. You keep doing what you're doing.
oh, I appreciate that. And then my last question for you, Kevin, is where can the folks at home follow and support you?
SorboStudios.com. Sorbo, my last name, Sorbo Studios. You all know what studios are, SorboStudios.com. And you'll have all the information and stuff coming down the pipeline. We've got a lot of stuff. I've got original props and clothes from Hercules and Andromeda and other movies I've been in that are up for sale. We got DVDs, we got books, we got all kinds of stuff.
All right. Well, Kevin, thank you so much. I really appreciate this interview, and I tried to rush it a little to respect your schedule, so
I
thank
believe
you.
it.
All
Thank. All
right.
right, take care, buddy.
All right, buddy. I'll see you later. All
Take
right,
care.
guys. That was the episode. Subscribe, rate, review, and we'll see you guys next week on Reza Rifts.